Marvel Spider-Man came out and really offered this unprecedented amount of choice in terms of what you wanted your version of Peter Parker to look like when it came to playing a Spider-Man. So today I actually wanted to go through and, like we've done with the Arkham series, actually rank my top 5 favorite suits in Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4. So there's a ton to pick from. Most of them are great, and those that aren't great, for the most part, are still tolerable. But these are the 5 that I just absolutely adore personally. The first one I wanted to actually take a look at is actually the Spider-Man 2099 black suit. This is important to differentiate because there are 2 different suits. There's the black and the white. The black is really blue though, but originally this was supposed to be a black suit in the comics. It just ended up shaded blue with black to show shadowing and stuff like that. And it's just sort of become blue over time. There's a lot going on here that I really like. One of the first things that you notice when you look at this suit is just how unique the eyepieces are. The eyes are built right into the mask. They don't really have any kind of lenses visible on them. Just this, which this is true to the comic, obviously. And you can see that they sort of form together to form a full spider. That said, they're still in the shape of the classic Spider-Man eyes, so they do fit in with that original design, but also for an updated 2099 look. Another great thing about this suit is just how huge the spider is. It does make it unique because this is something that would sort of go on to be done in later suit designs, but like at the time there weren't tons of Spider-Man suits that were just so pronounced with the chest spider. There's a lot of different things you can see in the design of it too. You have a skull within the actual spider head, or the spider body, I mean. So there are some different vibes that come from that. And on top of that, that spider actually extends outward down the arms into, like, you know, the gauntlets and into the hands, into some arrows. It's just tied together very well. And then when it comes to the texture of the suit, different parts are textured in different ways. You have some areas down along the side of the legs that are textured in more of a basketball raised pattern, while you have other portions of the suit that are just very smooth. It's really just the comic suit slightly varied to the point where it's not even much of any different. The second suit I wanted to take a look at is actually, it's another one of my favorites from the comics. This is one that I think has not gotten enough love over time, and at the time that it came out, it was a little controversial in terms of its suit design, but it did stick with fans, despite being part of a weird storyline. That was the original Scarlet Spider suit for Ben Reilly. It's just in the game, it's just called Scarlet Spider suit. There is another version of it called the Scarlet Spider 2 suit, but we're looking at the first one. This is a pretty iconic Spider-Man suit that's really stuck with the webhead over time. Originally worn by Ben Reilly, you know, with the whole Clone Saga storyline and moving into him, the Scarlet Spider, taking over as Spider-Man for a while as well after this. This is a suit that's sort of stuck in the memory of Spider fans. And frankly, it does work extremely well in the game. Again, you do have these different textures running throughout the suit, quite a bit like the 2099 suit, but in different spots, where there's some that are more that basketball raised texture, there's other parts that are smooth, some that are lines, but it all flows together very well. And you can tell that it's just a bodysuit underneath the sweatshirt. In the comics, Ben Reilly had taken this spider sweatshirt and actually cut the arms off of it and wore it on the outside of the bodysuit for the Scarlet Spider uniform. That is something you can see here, with his utility belt not being built into the suit but being worn over it. And one of the best actual features of this, other than just the unique eyepieces, is the web shooters. The web shooters actually show each individual web canister very, very clearly on the outside of the suit. This is something you also see on the utility belt. You see positions for where he has taken actual web fluid canisters out of the belt and worn them on his arms from that utility belt. And you can see where the rest of them are sitting on the utility belt. And frankly, the colors just look great when you look at them in the daylight of New York City. It's all pretty fantastic, down to the level of detail on the sweatshirt itself, which you can see is worn. It doesn't look perfect The spider itself, it almost looks spray painted on because it's worn down. And on top of that, even the drawstrings of the hoodie will move as he moves. There's physics to them. So there's a lot of just tiny little details in there that really do flesh that whole thing out. The next one I wanted to take a look at is the Iron Spider. There was an Iron Spider suit included in the original game. It's just called the Iron Spider suit, which was the MCU variant of this. But the one I wanted to look at is just called Iron Spider Armor instead of Iron Spider Suit. The Iron Spider Armor was actually created right prior to the Civil War. And this is really just ripped right from those pages with some texturing updates. It's been given a little bit more of the iron look in terms of the actual, how do you say it, the textures of the Iron Man suits, how they look. But other than that, it's really pretty much from the comics. There is actually a lot of detail here as well, from the fact that the headpiece is really more of a helmet than a mask. How it all flows together in terms of the texturing on it, especially when you zoom way in there on this suit, it just looks really nuts. It has like one of the most detailed looks in the game in terms of its texturing. And it's just, again, it's a very good multi-layered suit. I mean, you have portions of it that, again, are smooth. You have these portions on the chest that, like all these goldish metal parts, you can see like pocketing, what do you call them? Like score marks in or pocket marks in, where it's kind of like it's been scraped or hit in the past, but it still shines and, you know, flows through. You can see in the middle of the chest what looks like the spot for almost an arc reactor type energy source. There's obviously on the hand pieces, there are these repulsor areas where like you could shoot blasts out of, although that's not an actual in-game feature. He does have those thruster spots on his boots as well. This suit is just, it's really fantastic. I couldn't have expected it to be adapted better in the game. One of the next suits we're going to look at is a suit from the MCU, actually. Originally in the game, they had included actually the Stark suit, which was his suit from Homecoming. It's really detailed, looks very impressive, and we sort of thought, okay, well, that's our MCU call out. That's great, we get that. You know, maybe we'll see something else, maybe not. But I really think Insomniac completely outdid themselves with the upgraded suit. This is the suit that Peter actually has in Spider-Man Far From Home, eventually in the movie. It is very cool. It's a mixture of his Amazing Fantasy suit, his first appearance, with the Stark suit. It sort of modernizes that original take of Spider-Man with the new MCU take. It updates it to a black and red color scheme like the original, but it does add in all these technological elements that the Stark suit brought to the table in the Homecoming movie. It's incredible. You zoom in on it, the level of detail on the suit is incredible, just the texturing throughout it is so cool, and it does vary and flow perfectly. This thing looks like it was ripped straight out of the movie, straight out of a shot of the movie, and just chucked into the game. It's perfection. You obviously have like bits of it that flow really interestingly, like the red through the arms that actually ties down into the web shooters themselves, the fingers which are actually separated from the rest of the red of the suit, giving it a very unique look there. The eyes, which actually appeal back to the classic Spider-Man eyes, which was sort of the point with the MCU, is to go back to a little bit more of a true to original mask design, at least. The small spider on the chest really does sort of shine through in terms of that original design too. It does seem like the billion-dollar spider suit in terms of like something made with Stark technology from the movies, but also updated to be a tool for Peter Parker. It's interesting because it's hard to talk about this and actually give the look a fair shake without talking about the movie itself, but I've sort of tried my best to do that. There's really just nothing I have bad to say about this, even down to the white spider on the back. Every time I play with this thing, you know, it's a really cool feeling. You really do feel like you're playing as the Spider-Man from the MCU. So there were a lot of different suits to pick from, and it was really hard to narrow it down to this final pick. I had a real hard time coming up with this, but it's got to be one that I think is the most detailed in the game, and I'm sure it'll cause a little bit of controversy, but that's actually the Webb Suit. This is the Raimi suit, some of you might know it as, from the original Spider-Man trilogy. It's so simplistic, but it's like so detailed at the same time. So The most interesting feature of this suit, I believe, is actually the web design. The web design of this suit, and it's really, I believe, why it's called the Webb Suit, not that they could probably reference Raimi without paying him, but the webs on this suit are silver, and they actually shine in the daylight as you move in different lightings, and they actually flow throughout the red very well. And one of the reasons for this was actually in the original movies, they didn't have a good way to record red and black together without the colors sort of merging together on screen. The way that camera technology worked, they needed to rework the suit in order to make it stand out and make the web stand out and not just bleed into the full design of the suit. So they ended up going with this raised silver look. And it really did work out well in the movies. It looked very fancy, very unique, while also staying true to the original Spider-Man suit design. That translated perfectly into Marvel's Spider-Man. This is a suit that I really think is incredible. It's got the big, huge red spider on the back, the mid-sized blackish silver spider on the front, the very unique eyes, which are much larger than the classic Spider-Man eyes. They're sort of a little bit like the Ultimate Spider-Man in terms of its eye size, but, you know, a different shape. There's a lot going on here, and I think that this suit, it did have a bit of a controversy when it first came out for a few reasons. One was that there was a lot of really stupid people who threatened the developers because they really wanted this suit in game. It is something that sort of tarnished this suit in certain people's eyes. Meanwhile, at the same time, there were a lot of people who just wanted this suit in the game, myself included, who either really never said anything about it or just kind of waited on it to see if it would show up. Who, when it showed up, were very excited. And then from the other side of that aisle, there were people that were very mad that the suit was included because they thought that it was giving into entitled gamer culture, which I really hate those terms, but it opens up a whole can of worms. And I think, frankly, the suit goes a little underappreciated because of that whole controversy around it, of people on one side being huge jerks towards the developers, and then people on the other side being jerks towards the fans who wanted the suit, who didn't really say anything at all, who were just happy that it was in there. So it's a whole can of worms, guys, but the design of the suit itself is pretty spectacular, if I do say so myself. I definitely spend the most time, since this has been added, playing as this suit. I can't get enough. I really do hope it comes back in a future game as well, but I'm so glad it was included because I really do think these movies are what got a lot of people into Spider-Man in general and what got a lot of people into the superhero genre. So it's great to see it here. It's great to see that it was so well detailed, and I hope to see it in the future. So hey, these are my 5 absolute favorite suits in the Marvel Spider-Man game. Let me know what you think below about these suit picks. Are there any you liked much more? Do you hate any of these? And what are your favorite suits, if not these? Maybe none of these are your favorites. What are they? Let me know. And hey, be sure to check out the Discord, where we have a whole community of gaming fans, superhero fans, Marvel, DC fans who actually talk together about stuff like this every day. We have fun. We hang out there. We've got Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Reddit. There's a lot of links I'll be leaving in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day and stay awesome.